For the reading this morning, a poem, Final Notations, by Adrienne Rich. I invite you to sink into this, and I think there'll be food for thought for the reflection. It will not be simple. It will not be long. It will take little time. It will take all your thought. It will take all your heart. It will take all your breath. It will be short. It will not be simple. It will touch you through your ribs. It will take all your heart. It will not be long. It will occupy your thought as a city is occupied, as a bed is occupied. It will take all your flesh. It will not be simple. You are coming into us who cannot withstand you. You are coming into us who never wanted to withstand you. You are taking parts of us into places never planned. You are going far away with pieces of our lives. It will be short. It will take all your breath. It will not be simple. It will become your will. So ends the reading.
So there's something profoundly comfortable about certainty. Certainty gives us rules to follow, answers to memorize, a path already paved. It offers the security of knowing exactly what's expected of us and the promise that if we believe the right things and do the right things, we'll be okay, safe, saved. Dogmatic theology is built on the foundation that a God who is always right, a book that never changes, and a truth that comes from outside us, beyond us, above us. And for many, that is enough. Certainty is a refuge, a closed circle of clarity in a chaotic world. But certainty can become a cage when the truth is handed down rather than discovered, when morality is memorized instead of wrestled with, when mystery is treated like a threat instead of a teacher, we lose something vital. We lose the practice of discernment. We lose the courage to feel our way through complexity. We lose the sacredness of choice. What is the deepest meaning in life? What if the deepest meaning in life is not found in certainty, but in purpose? What if it's not knowing for sure what is right, but remembering what matters most? What if the sacred gesture isn't transcendence, but the choice to reach or not reach because something deeper calls? Not dogma, not doctrine, but purpose. A purpose rooted not in heaven, but in humanity. So we arrive at humanism, a philosophy not of just thought, but also touch. Not just belief, but gesture. Because what we do with our hands and what we offer, what we withhold, refuse, repair, may be the most honest expression of our purpose. So before we begin and we step into Adrienne Rich's poem, we need to understand the ethical ground beneath her words, the soil of humanism. Humanism steps into a space not to offer new commandments, but to ask new questions. It doesn't claim to speak for God. It doesn't offer a rule book or a final answer. It instead asks, what does it mean to live with purpose when there are no guarantees? What if it's the most honest form of faith isn't about certainty at all, but just showing up anyway? Humanism is not a theology of heaven. It's a theology of hands, of touch, of presence, of this life, this world, this moment. It does not demand belief. It demands integrity. Not what do you profess, what you choose to do with your time, your power, and your care. Humanism does not offer answers handed down from above. It offers the courage to build meaning from within. It calls us to honor dignity without dogma, to trust reason without rigidity, to embrace complexity without surrendering compassion. It does not promise certainty. It does offer purpose. It asks us to shape the world, not through decree, but by care. So Rich's poetry lives at the crossroads of love, truth, and justice. In her work, humanism finds its most intimate expression because the sacred is not beyond us, it's among us. And its reach that connects, the restraint that protects, the reverence of human presence. This is what humanism offers, a reason to reach with care, a reason to remember with clarity, a reason to begin again with purpose. And this brings us to Adrienne Rich. Adrienne Rich was one of the most influential American poets, essayists of the 20th century, a fierce feminist, self-identified, and explicitly prominent social figure whose public, intellectual, and work spans decades of social change, namely those of queer people. Her poetry wrestles with love, power, violence, motherhood, and justice, and not in abstract terms, but with deep attention to the body, to memory, to what it means to live inside the human condition. In Rich's work, language becomes an ethical act. This poem is poem 6 from her iconic sequence, 21 Love Poems. It's one of the most profound examples of that act, where the personal and political, the sensual and the moral meet in the space of two hands. So I'm going to read this really quickly. Okay, 21 Love Poems, 6 by Adrienne Rich. Your small hands, precisely equal to my own. Only the thumb is larger, longer. And in these hands, I could trust the world, or in many hands like these, handling power tools or steering wheel, or touching a human face. Such hands can turn the unborn child right ways, in the birth canal, or pilot the exploratory rescue ship through icebergs, or piece together the fine, needle-like shards of the great crater cup bearing on its sides figures of these static women striding into Sybil's den or the Eleusinian cave. Such hands might carry out an unavoidable violence with such restraint, with such grasp, out of the range of the range and limits of violence, that violence ever after would be obsolete. So this reflection does not begin in the sky, it begins in the body, in the hands, in the pause before action. It's in the presence of choice. It's in the ache of knowing what you could do by asking, should I do it? That question, that space of could and should is where wisdom begins, because both humanism and the poem is a paradox, that we are capable of extraordinary things and still called to practice restraint. Humanism affirms our power, but does not sanctify every impulse. It asks us to be deliberate, to be lucid, to remember what our hands can do and what they must sometimes choose not to do. Because the power isn't the whole story, it's actually how we carry it. What we build, what we break, what we mend, what we withhold. In these acts, we shape a moral life. Adrienne Rich gives a scripture that's made of skin and breath. No gods, no heaven, only hands, only memory. In poem 6, she begins not with abstraction, but body. 2 hands, nearly identical. This is a metaphor of power. Not of power, but of presence. Your hands, precisely equal to my own, only the thumb is larger, longer. Precisely equal evokes love, built on mutual recognition, not domination. Only the thumb is larger, names difference, without the imbalance. These hands are real, particular, and equal. And then comes the ethical heart of the poem. In these hands, I could trust the world, or in many hands like these. Trust here is not a metaphor, it's existential. Each time Rich places something in these hands, she reveals them as vessels, containers of care, memory, and risk. The hand that holds the world, the tool, the face, each gesture becomes an act of bearing. These are not just containers. These are conveyances. And the hands that pilot the rescue ship are vessels too, not holding but moving. The crater cup, as pictured here, is a restoration and is also a vessel of history. These hands carry, they steer, they remember. They are not extensions of will. They are altars archiving what we choose to hold, what we choose to release, and how we mark what was once broken. And when Rich expands her frame in many hands like this, she invites us all into a collective ethic. Handling power tools, steering wheels, or touching a human face. What does it mean to a world to know that you are not alone, but in kinship? Rich binds labor and tenderness in the same breath. These hands are practical. They're intimate. They shape and sustain. Such hands could turn an unborn child right way in the birth canal, or pilot an exploratory rescue ship through icebergs, or piece together the fine needle-like sherds of a crater cup. This poem moves from creation to danger to repair. These hands intervene wisely. They don't dominate, they respond, they attend with attentive grace. Their work is restoration, remembered and reimagined. So then, bearing the sides of the ecstatic women striding into Sybil's den in the Eleusinian cave, these gestures are mythic, embodied, and ritualized. The sacred is elsewhere, but it's passed through hands. This is Rich's theology, not transcendence, but of attention, of capable presence, a humanism that lives fully in hands. So Rich offers not a purpose, Rich offers not a commandment, but a vision, a moral imagination that redefines strength as restraint. Such hands may carry out an unavoidable violence with such restraint, with such grasp for the range and limits of violence, that violence ever after could be obsolete. These are her final words in the poem, and Rich does not promise a world without harm. She names the truth that we will sometimes face impossible choices, that violence may feel unavoidable, but then restraint. This is not abstinence. This is moral clarity. It is power. It is held gently. It's choosing not to use all that one is capable of, but it's not pacifism. This is moral mastery. It's not because we are weak. It's simply because we remember. Because we have learned. Because we have seen what happens when power acts without reflection. Rich imagines a way in being in the world which knowledge and sorrow and restraint are enough to do the logic of harm. This is an ethical imagination at work. It is not proof. It is purpose. This is the wisdom I return to, that meaning does not require certainty, only intention, that I do not need to be sure, I just need to be rooted. That restraint is not weakness, but the memory of what power has cost. The choice to move with care and not conquest. Because humanism does not ask us to be righteous. It just asks us to be responsible. To live not from fear of being wrong, but the clarity of what we hope to make right. Not every answer needs to be final. Not every act needs to be grand. Not every gesture, even if it's guided with purpose, needs to be valid, other than knowing one's own holiness. And I'll be honest, living this way is not easy. Carrying purpose without certainty is a heavy thing. It means choosing to hold power and not use it. It means moving with care again and again, even when no one is watching. It is holy work. It is heavy. And sometimes I ache for something simpler, a clean answer, a final verdict, a voice from the sky saying, "You've done enough. Now rest." I'm tired. But humanism does not offer that kind of relief. It does not hand us righteousness. It asks and demands responsibility. It doesn't promise that we'll always know the right thing, but it will trust that we will try. It asks, will you reach anyway? Will you remember anyway? Will you act? Not because you're sure, because you care. So maybe I start here. My hands that I used to hold. I hold someone close. My hands can turn off the noise. My hands can write checks that keep people safe. My hands can repair what someone else chose to break. When I'm too tired, my hands can rest just long enough to begin again. This is what purpose looks like. Not abstract, but embodied. Not grand, but faithful, like wiping a tear. Keeping silence when silence protects. Mending what someone forgot to care for. Like opening the door, still and again. This is how memory steadies the hand. How restraint becomes its own kind of grace. How love becomes a movement that is felt, chosen, and lived. This is not a theology that asks us to rise above the world. It asks us to stay inside of it, awake, embodied, and willing. It asks us to return to our hands, to see them not with shame, but with pride, with reverence, to ask gently, what have they carried this week? What are they holding now? And what will they carry forward? This is where the belief becomes practice, where memory becomes motion, and where the values move into the muscle. Not every act will be heroic. Some will be quiet. Some will be repeated and unseen. But this is the work. This is the rhythm. This is how the purpose is formed. So I invite you now, just for a moment, to look at your own hands. What have they carried? What are they holding? What might they carry next? And then breathe, because the work is not yet finished. But you do not carry it alone. Let them be steady. Let them remain soft. And let them remember what they are here to hold. Maybe those hands, may we be those hands. May we be the presence. May we, each in our own imperfect way, choose purpose, not proof, presence, not pride, and care, not conquest, again and again and again. Amen. And may it be so.